Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. So my name is Monica Rajput and I'm the co-lead at mobileweb.dev. So if you are joining a webinar for the first time, so mobileweb.dev is an open source community and we focus on mobile and web technologies. So today we are going to discuss enhancing web performance with Chrome tools presented by Harsh Gupta. So he is a mentor at GSOC and the Snapchat Lens creator, and also he's sharing the opportunity stack in his YouTube channel, so you must check it out for the latest updates. So now without further any delay, I will turn time over to Harsh, please.
Uh, Hello, Monica. Thanks for this good introduction. So let's just a simple intro from my side. I'm Harsh. I'm a computer science engineering student from SRM University, and I'm a professional web developer, Snapchat Lens creator, and I'm a mentor at Girls Script Summer of Code. So today's session would be about the web performance, how we can increase our web performance with Chrome DevTools, and inside it we have something like Lighthouse and the performance tabs. So we'll be also talking about that. So this session would be about in two parts. The first would be about the understanding. So first we will see how we can measure these performances, like from the user perspective and from the developer perspective, because if we define any web performance in single term, then we can't define it actually. So we need to give some parameters for it. So for that we have some parameters from the user perspective, from the machine which is running itself, and from the developer perspective. So it would be about the understanding of the web performance, and in the second we will be improving that performance according to which we have understand about it. So let's start with the understanding of it. So first we will be seeing psychology of performances. So in that we will be seeing how we can say the website is performing, and why is it important. Because if a user is going to any website, it sees if it is loading too much, then it is not good, and it is like the annoying for the user. So this comes under the performance, like this is the performance of the website. So we will see why it is important. So according to Walmart, every 1 second of improvement is increasing in the 2% of conversion rate. So it is a big thing, because a Walmart is a really big company, and if its 2% conversion rate is increasing, then we all know it has a massive change. Also, it also states the in initial of 100 milliseconds, its improvement, the 1% of increment revenue is increasing. So this is also a good thing. Not only Walmart, we have several more examples like the Agrofy, after applying these web performance increment, it it states the 18% of the customers of it is not it's reduced the exits. It means the 80% of the customers is likely to be on that particular website before exiting. So this is a very good thing for the web performance. And also we have seen like if the website is taking too much time, then the conversion rate would be decreasing. So as we can see on the first, the 2.4 seconds, which is a good thing for the website. So it is taking a conversion rate of 1.9%. But as the time is reducing from the 2.4 to 3.3, 4.2, and 5.7, and so on, the conversion rate is decreasing according to that. So here we can see it is not good for our website if the website is taking too much time for the load. So there's another scenario of why the performance is important, because Google says so. Why? Because Google said in its official announcements, and if you have read the documentations, then it says Google will rank you on your performance. Yes, it's not only depends on how your website tagging, like what are the tags you are using on your websites, and how much content you have on your websites, but also how well your website is performing. So Google will be giving you rank according to that. So not from the Google perspective, if any user is going, then if your website is taking too much time to load, then user will get frustrated and angry and will not get stick around it. And it is obvious, if we are going to any website, then it will know if it is not loading, if it is like blank, and it is just loading and just loading, then we will also get frustrated, because when it will load, because we want to see it, we want to see uh, what you want it to see. So it is not showing what we want to see, then we will get frustrated. So this is a common behavior of the user. So what feels fast? We have talked about, if our website is slower or if our website is down, then user get frustrated. But what feels fast? So I have these four websites for you, which is npr.org, CNN, NY Times, and WSG. So I have these four website. I have gone to these website and just see the performance of that these four website, and comparing them all. So the among these four websites, I have experienced npr.org was the fastest. It was the fastest. The second, NY Times, NY, it means New York Times. The New York Times was fastest, and the third WSJ, and the fourth CNN. So why these ranks differ? So I have written like npr.org. Below that, I have written publicly funded. After that, advertising funded, subscription funded, and again subscription funded. So these are some parameters which is affecting their websites. Why? Because npr.org, which is the first, which is the best performance website among these four only. I'm not talking about the world's best performance, npr.org, but it is among them. So it is a publicly funded website. So it doesn't contain some vulgar ads or any random ads to put on these webs on this web page or this website. So this website loads its own content. So it doesn't have any extra advertisements. So it gets loaded faster. On the second number, we have New York Times, which is a subscription plus advertising based. So a user can subscribe it, and also it is more the advertising company, and New York Times and WSJ both. So these have also the some kind of advertising element in between. So they have lack in performance rank. So and it happens also, if your website is having some advertisational, or we can say the promotional tags, then your website rank could be much lesser, because it happens when your website is designed for your content but not the uh, ads. But if you're running your ads on it, then it will affect your ranking according to your performance. And the worst, we have the CNN, which is the advertising fund. It is purely based on advertising. So you can say that's why it is at last. It is the worst performance among them, because it is only advertised. It is only funded by advertising. So there are lots of ad on that website, and it making them slow. So this was the psychology of waiting. Wait time feels subjective. What it means? It means when the user is going to any website, then he wants to feel that it is getting something from it. If I'm going to any website, let's say I'm going to uh, Geeks for Geeks, right? I'm going to Geeks for Geeks, and let's say I want to learn about the web development, and I'm going to that website, and it is just loading. It takes 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Then I will feel like impatience, because I'm not getting my content or any subject of it. So this feels like, okay, I'm going to another website. This website is not going to load. So it feels like that. So this was the psychology of waiting, and these are the some key points from the user perspective. People want to get started. It means, if you want to load your website, if you want your user to not to leave your website, so just show them anything. Just show them the initial phase of your website. It could be anything. It could be the nav bar, it could be the first content, or first div element of your website. It could be anything, but let users see your website is loading. So these are the 6 points which is user want to just get started. Please don't feel user to get bored, and unexplained wait feels slower. It means the fourth point is, I feel is really important for us, because we don't know people, like the user, what he wanted to see, what page he might be looking for, and what is the thing he might be looking for. But uh, if I'm going to any website, then it should be there's some content which give me the value. So our website should be going to target that only. The sixth, we have the people will wait for value, and that's the key point. The people will wait for value. If I'm going to Stack Overflow, then it is surely that I'm stuck in a problem and I want some help. So I'm going to Stack Overflow to get some code snippets. So I will wait for 10 seconds and 15 seconds. Because why? Because I'm sure about it that yes, I will get my issue resolved here. And if I'm getting some value from it, then yes, I will wait. So that's how this key statement works. If you are giving them a value, then yes, user will wait until the website loops. So this was all about understanding of the web performance, how our web performance uh, like work for the user, how psychology works for the user. So now we will see how we can measure these performance. We have seen these websites are fastest, these websites are slower, and these websites have the worst performance, these have the best. But how we can measure it? We just don't want to rank them on the time basis, but we want to make it measurable from our side, from the developer side. So in the older ways, we have page loads from starting to end. It means it takes whole time from start to end, and it give performance rating according to that. It could be anything, like from start, it started from the blank and it end with the loaded with the nav bar. Also, it start from the blank and it loaded from the very first content which is loaded, and after that it is lazy loading. It means your website is loading, is taking too much time, and or anything which is related to JavaScript, so it is loading. So on the older ways it was ranking according to that, but now we have new ways. We have FCP, LCP, CLS, which is the part of the Web Vitals. So what it taught us is FCP, which is the first contentful page; LCP, large contentful page; FID, first input delay, and so on. So these are the things which we will be defining later, and we will see how we can. These are the how these things is the best thing for now to measure web performance. So first we will talking about first contentful paint, FCP. So first contentful paint is defined when the user sees or when the page load its first content. As its name described, first contentful paint. The first content. It could be anything. It could be your navigation bar, or it could be anything from your first div. The first div, usually first div is nav bar, so I considered that, but it could be anything. So the first contentful page, and in if I go with the like proper definition, then the time until the user sees an indication the page is loading. It means the user is saying, okay, the first content is loaded. It means the navigation bar is loaded and the page is going to load. So it means the website is responding quick. As the user click on your website and it got loaded, its navigation bar is loaded. So the user will be happy, okay, this website is very responsive, and responsive in terms of performance, not the responsive from the desktop and mobile. Okay, so your website performance, okay, so it is responding really good way, and yes, I will watch it. The second, we have LCP, which is the largest contentful page. So, as the name suggests, largest contentful page, it means your largest content of your page has been loaded, and from now your rest of the page will load. So it's the time when most of the content of your page has been loaded. But what do we mean by largest content of the page? It means on your whole web page, what is the content which is taking a too much size? So if I'm taking an example, which is again the NPR, and if you go to NPR website, then you can see these images, these big banner images. So usually it taking a lot of pixels. So if I define it, then the largest contentful page would be more prescribed as on pixels. It means how many pixels that particular content is taking. So now in this NPR, npr.org website, these these pictures is taking a too much pixels on this web page. So the largest contentful page would be these pictures. So if these pictures got loaded, then this web idol says, okay, so your LCP is loaded. So if I go with the simple definition, then it would be the time until the user sees most of the page and believes it is ready. So as we said, get to the point. It means the user has see the first LCP, first contentful paint, the second LCP, which is the largest contentful page. So your website is ready to see. It means your majority of time, it means your HTML and CSS, which is the more of front end content, and the user mostly see that. So the user can see and go through the content, and the JavaScript will be get loaded in the background. So after that we have CLS, which is cumulative layout shift. So cumulative layout shift is not work on every website until it has asynchronous behavior or any defer behavior. But if you have, let's say you have let's say a React app, right? In the React app you want to load something asynchronously. So if your website is loading and let's say it has crossed the LCP, it means your website is loaded, okay. But as soon as user hover over it, your next content got loaded. As soon as you go on the second, if the user go to second, then second content loaded. So it states cumulative layout shift. It means your layout is shifting towards down and down, which is not good for user, because user has assumed that okay, this whole website is loaded, now I can interact with it. But your website was not loaded. So it is recommended to not to use cumulative layout shift error, because it is not good for the user and also for the performance. So for defining this, we have the New York Times, which was I think the third best. Yeah, the third best. Okay, so for that we have the cumulative shift layout example. If you go to New York Times, or if you go to any Hindustan Times or Times Now, you can see on the top of the website you can see the banner ads, and these banner ads comes with the CLS, which is the cumulative layout shift. If your website isn't loaded fully, then usually you will not see this banner ad, but it will come gradually when the ads loaded. So this layout shift considerably occurs that when your website is loaded or going to load. So the next, if I go with the definition, then the movement, distance, and the impact of the element during the entire lifetime of the document the user sees. So if I'm sum this up, the cumulative layout shift is when your website is almost loaded, but when the user interact with it, it loading its content while the user interacting. So with this CLS, we said don't move stuff too much, because it is not good for web vitals. So how might this impact client side rendering? Because if we are using cumulative shift layout, because in React application we usually use this asynchronous behavior, so we want to use it. So how we can make this happen? Well, for that we have FID, which is the first input delay. So it comes under the LCP, after LCP, or in between the LCP. So what it does, when the LCP loaded, when your website get loaded, then it looks like your website has completed the loading, but it didn't load it fully. Why? Because your website is in the load of state, is in the state of load, sorry, is in the state of load, and this looks like your website is loaded, but it is not the truth. But your user is shifting around and just roaming around your website and trying to interact with your website. But at that time user finds, if your website is being loading, and user if user is clicking on something, then he will feel okay, there is some delay. If I click on this, I want to go on the next page at any instant. So I want to go on the next page, but it takes some time because your page is not loading. So that's how we can give the first input delay, because the user want to interact with the website, but it is having some delay. Why? Because the website is not loaded fully. So the browser time delay between the user's first click and the execution of application code. So that's why we usually say don't load too much, because if your website has too much thing and too much, let's say the libraries, too much plugins you have in your website, so it takes your website little slower and it can cause the user delays, like input delays. So we don't recommend to use, don't load too much. So these are the sum up of the web vitals. So the first contentful page, it's refers to the quick response. LCP, get to the point. It means your website almost ready. CLS, it says don't move stuff, because if you move your stuff, then user will get might confused. Is it fully loaded or not? And the FID, which is the first input delay, it said don't load too much, because user want to interact your website if it looks ready. Okay, so these are the web vitals, which is LCP, FID, and CLS. So the Google has prescribed these web vitals and it gives some ratings, also the timings. It means if your largest contentful page is loaded within 2.5 seconds, then your website is performing good. It is good. And if your LCP is under 4 or till 4, between 2.5 and 4 seconds, then your website is good, but it can be improved. If your 4 seconds, if your LCP is more than 4 seconds, then it is like the worst experience the user can have, because its LCP is not good for the user. This is the same thing with the FID CLS. So so let's take the demonstration of the Lighthouse. So if I uh, go to any my browser, let me see it. Let me share my screen. uh, this web dev. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, now it is. Okay, so if I go to my inspect panel, not this one. If I go to my inspect, and here you can see, not the performance. Let's go to the, yeah, let's go to this Lighthouse. I think my screen is a bit not good. Let me just make it desktop responsive and just refresh this. Okay, great. I think right now it is not visible. My inspect panel is not visible. Let me do it again. Yep. Is it visible? My inspect panel is visible. Okay. So right now I'm on the web.dev website, and in this I have opened the Lighthouse. So this Lighthouse give us the performance report. So if I just click on this generate report, and it will audit this website in various ways from the desktop and the mobile. Let me just do it from the mobile so that we can get the actual report. Okay, so now what it is doing, it is we have a Lighthouse tool in our Chrome developer tools. So what it does, it just give us the performance ranking according to web vitals and other practices. So I have just click on these things. You can say this is the performance of 79, which is kind of good. So this is on my machine. I think it has accessibility of 99. Best practice it has is the 93, which is a really good. SEO it has a 99, and performance it is 79. So right now we will consider the performance only. So performance, why we are getting this low 79 performance? Because it has a reason. Why? Because if I just see this lighthouse, then this lighthouse is performing its activity on my machine. So it could be anything. It could be the network issue, it could be the network strength, it could be the machine error because my machine is not that flexible, or it could be any reason, because it's not depend on the majority of the user is seeing, but also particular your machine is what your machine is interacting with this. So that's how this thing work. Yeah. So now if I talk about the quirks and kochas of the this lighthouse, then it is relative to your machine and network. As I said, it depends on your network and machine. But we will also talk about if it is only talk if these performance report we are getting from our machine, then how we can resolve it, because this particular website is going to use by many developers, by many users. Then how we can make this a good? So give me just 1 minute. I think this. Yep, now I think it is visible. Okay, so the relative to your machine. So if we want to test our website, then it should be on the user's machine. Then if how we can get these data, because if I'm uh, experimenting my website on my machine, then it could be as like something as behavior on another machine. So how we can resolve it, we'll be also talking about that. And also it depends on the parameters, like if like the machine and network, the window size. I decrease my window size, then it will affect the lighthouse report, because it because your website is molded according to any particular window size, or it has oriented window size. So these lighthouse reports can be affected by these window sizes. And also, if while you are experimenting with the lighthouse reports, then please switch off your extensions, and it is recommended to use incognito mode. So why we should use incognito mode? Because it doesn't have any plugins, or it usually it defaults turned off any of the extensions and plugins you have. So it usually refers to, if you want to run any lighthouse reports, then either you can just turn off your extensions and plugins, or you can just open the incognito mode and then perform your activity. So where do we measure performance? Because on our machine we can't get any of these data from the user. So for that, we have first the lab data. The lab data is refers to what we are creating with our website. So as what I have did with the lighthouse. So in the lighthouse, what I have did is I just go to any random website, which is the web.dev, and I just give the report of my lighthouse. So this is not convenient, because it is the report from my machine, right? It is a developer machine. It's not from the user, but from the developer. So The Lighthouse report which we will be having from developer would be correct. So this would be about the lab data. So if we're talking about synthetic data, so synthetic data is refers to more the test servers. So what test servers? It could be anything. If I'm talking about the Google Cloud services, then it also gives these data. So these data could be anything about the Google services or the Alibaba services we have. So also these are the services which give us the synthetic data, and these data is also are not accurate. Why these are not accurate? Because these are not users machine. These data is not are from the users machine, but also from the cloud in your network, and they give the data. So this is the synthetic, which is a traditional AMP tools. And AMP tools, it could be anything, which is, I said, the Google Cloud and the Alibaba services, and these are the plenty of services in the market. And the third, we have field data. So this is the very useful data we could have right now, because field data is straight refers to the user. So what we do is, we make our website, the users come to our website, and the the reports the user have in their machine, we get monitored by the service. So what we do is, we generate these data from the user's machine and get back to our service. So this field data is really accurate from, if we think about the developer perspective, because we are taking data from the users who are using it. So this is a really good way to collect data and get the precise notation from your website, because it's also come the rum tool. So also, if you want to see these rum tool, it's also provide requestmetrics.com. It is a good website to provide these field data. So you can, if you want to do it, then you can check it out. So if we go to interpreting the field data, then we will see the lab data is 75. Let's assume on my machine, web.dev is having the 95 score. On the field data, it is having, most of the time it is having good score, which is a 93 in the score of 90s. And in the 20% of the data we have from the 80s, and only 10% of the data we have in 60s. So the average we got is 80, which is not good. If I have the four range of these things, let's assume, and 50% of the user is getting 90 above, and the 50% is the of the user is getting from 60s to 80s. The average score which I will get is 80. 80 is refers to the performance ratio which we will be getting from the Lighthouse. So if I'm taking 50%, my 50% of the audience is getting good score, and 50% of the audience is getting not good score. It's from 70, 60, so it is not good. But there is some problem, because my 50% of my audience is having very good experience, but my 50% of the audience is not having good experience, and I'm getting 80 score, which is a decent score. And now if I'm taking this example, my majority of my audience, I can say like the 90% of my audience is getting really good score, really good score. But my only 10% of my audience is having the bad score, or I can say the worst score. But again I have the score 80. Why is that? Because because of my only 10% audience is having some kind of issue, my overall score is changing. So Google says this is not good for, this is not really not good for our, because the ranking could be differ by that. Well, for that, we have this interpreting field data, which is median and percentage. So if you, sorry, percentile, not percentage, percentile. So if you are familiar, the percentile concept, which is a really good. So we have this median P50, which is refers to the 50% of our audience, right? And we have P75 and P95. So if I says the Google language, then uh, percentile 75%. So if a 75% of our audience is having good score, then Google says, okay, so I'm taking these 75, the best 75 score, and will be ranking you according to that. So what it mean, if I have 100 user, let's suppose I have 100 user, and 90%, let's suppose this, not this, let's suppose this, yeah, okay. So here 90% of my user is having really really good score, but only 10% is having worst. But the Google says, okay, so I will just take 75% of the best score of yours and will be ranking you according to that. So Google will do that. Google just will take 75% of of my data and just rank me according to that. So this would be the best option for me, because if my 75%, which means the basically my majority of audience is having good experience, then we will not look up to those 25% which are having worst experience. It could be their error, not the website error, but it could be their error, because most of the user is getting good experience. So we will be ranking you good. So till now we have understood the psychology of the performance, how we can measure these performance from the Lighthouse, like first we have the FCP, LCP, FID, and CLS we have, and then we have played with the data, how we can see how our data is interacting with performance step and how we can improve it, and what Google says about these performance data. So now we will be improving it. So improving it means from the business objectives, right? And second, from the improving each web vitals. So from the business perspective, it could be the awareness, retention, conversion, and competition. So if I talking about the e-commerce website like the Amazon, so on the Amazon it is an e-commerce website and it sell products. So what it does, it should have the the more performance. It should be have the more retention, more conversion rate, and also it has the more competition as well. So these are the parameters which affect these web performances, because at the end of the day, these websites what conversion leads. So these web vitals could be very very beneficial for them. So for the short time duration, the difference must be at least 20% for most people to care. It what it mean? What it mean by 20% of at least 20%? It means if your website is performing 20% more good, 20% more, uh, 20% more faster, then the user can feel it. What it mean by user can feel it if it is to 20% more? It means if you go to like any two websites and it feels the same speed, same everything, then you will not be able to differentiate between them, because uh, somehow it feels same because it is having the same experience, and Amazon.com is also having the same experience. So why would I uh, uh, how would I differentiate between them? So to differentiate between them, we have just made these 20% rule, which is recognized by the user. If the website is 20% more uh, good, 20% more competence, 20% more uh, speed, like it has more speed, then the user can recognize it. So if you go to any performance API, then for that we have the performance API for that. If you go to mdndocs.com, sorry, mdn docs, not the .com. So you go to any uh, performance API, then you will see these. We have the performance dot get entry, get entry by types, get entries by name. So for that, by this performance API, you can see how well your website is performing. Well, if you want to say it, then you can type any. You can go to any website, just open the console and just type performance. Just type performance and then click enter. You will see the whole data, like the performance data is coming, and these data is really 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 big. We can't even define it. So for that we have the entry timings, so we can differentiate some of the data from the performance. So the first we have the performance.get entry, performance.get entries by type, performance.get entries by name. So these are some methods which you can differentiate with your performance data, to differentiate them. If you want to know more about it, then you can go to MDN Docs to learn more about it. So after that, if you just applied this performance uh, in your console log, then you will see these type of entries which is coming. So these type of entries are it is not like as expected as you were thinking, because it is confusing that the request start, connect, and dom content had event end. Because at the first time when I was a beginner in that, I see a lot of these entries, and I just explored my mind. What is it? I didn't get it at all. But if you just read the MDN docs, and you will gradually get it. Okay, so these are the session timings. This was the time. Then it gets started, and that was the time it get ends, and the request was made. That so if you want to learn more about it, that this is the best way to know from the MDN docs, which is a really really good website. You can check that out as well. So till that we have know the performance APIs from the business perspective, how user can how user can interact with it, and how we can what are the parameters for we can improve in it. Now, how we can improve in it. So if you ask me how we can improve it, so it's just a simple answer: do fewer things. It's a very simple statement: do fewer things, but it is not as simple as it sounds. Because in the web development field, if you want to load something, then you have to do something, right? If I want to load any image, then I can't do anything. I can't just remove these images. I need to put it on the website. So what it mean by do fewer things, it means you can just you can't remove the image, but you can change the size of it. So we will be talking about more about that. So first, improving the first contentful page. So in the first contentful page, if I will remind you, the time until the user sees and indicating that the page is loading. It means your first content of the page has loaded. For example, could be the navigation bar. Okay, so improving the FCP. So FCP means we want to make it as fast as we can. So the first we can do is to make our server really really quick. What it mean? It means our web server should be really really quick, and usually most of the website has a quick server. So it's not usually the case the servers must be quick, but it should be quick. Second, the size of the file should be smaller. What it mean? The If you are sending any HTML file or any doc file or any text file, then it shouldn't be greater than 800 kilobytes. So after 800 kilobytes, it is a way bigger file. It is a very big file. You shouldn't be making that much bigger file. So keep your text file, document file short as you can. So the path between the user and the servers should be smaller. What it mean? It means, let's say if I have a website called abc.in, right? And I want the users to be around my country only. Like I don't want users from the out of India. So this region, because my server is not as big as the amazon.com to be on the global level. So I want this little website, and it should be considered on my country only. So what I will do is, by not just making my server more bigger and more quicker, but also I can make a path shorter. Because I don't want user to be out of India, but also my website to be quick. So I can make some borders in my website, which I don't want. Okay, so this is the best way to do it. And after that, we have the quick serves. It means the size correctly. It's about the servers which we can do. The size of the server should be correctly. It means if your website is really big, it is service based or it is a product based, then your website should be really good. Your server side should be great. It should be minimal processing, and the network bandwidth should be great. So, and if we talk about the document, then the content side should be less, and the compression, there is a many website from which you can compress your files. So you can just search online, and you will get your compression website. So so now we have a short transmission. For the short transmission, we have talked about it. If we want our users to be in our country, so we don't want it to be on the worldwide, so we can reduce it, right? Okay, so this is a short transmission like the knowledge. east coast to west coast, it's 200 to 300 milliseconds. It means, let's say you want your website to be globally, and you are on your servers are on east coast and your user are on uh, west coast, right? So your website should at least take 200 to 300 milliseconds. Why? Because it's a simple assumption, because you can't travel more than speed of light, right? So there are certain limitations in the electromechanics. So your website should like might be taking 200 to 300 millisecond if you are that far from your server and user. So now we'll be improving largest contentful page. So, so for the revision, we have the time until the user see most of the content of the page and believe it is ready. Yes, it is almost ready. So now we'll be improving LCP. So for LCP, we have defer, resources, and optimizing images, reduce request overhead. So defer. So first we will talking about defer. So in defer we have, let's say we have some HTML files, images files, and some JS files, right? So in JS files we have first LCP, which is the first contentful page, and we have LCP, which is the largest contentful page, and in between we have these CSS, images, and JavaScript files. So we want from the first contentful page and to the LCP, which is the largest contentful page. In between these things, we need to do a fewer things. That's what we said previously. But how? From the defer, we can achieve it from the defer. So usually what we did is just put our script tag at the bottom of our body and just pre-assume, okay, so it will get loaded after our all our content will get loaded. But it is not the case. I mean, it is the best practice, but usually it is not like that. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because a defer is necessary to if you want to make your website more LCP friendly. So what it mean? It means let's suppose uh, my main.js file I have, and I want to make it to load at later stage. Sorry, at later stage. So what can I do here? I just apply defer from before the source, or you can also apply after. It's up to you. So so what we can do here is to by applying defer, the content of this .js file will be get loaded after your project will load. So first it will do it. It will load the HTML. It will load the CSS, and after that it will load the main.js file. So that's how the defer works perfectly here. So after applying defer, as you can see here, it will get loaded. So defer is doing here till the LCP. Defer is loading all the like the little from the JS and most of the images. And after that, it is executing after LCP, which is a good thing because we want to get loaded. Okay, just get loaded, but don't execute because our browser is taking too much time to taking HTML, CSS, and Java HTML, CSS, and images. So we don't want our JS to be executed in that particular time. So just load first the front end part, which is the HTML, CSS, and images, and after that you can execute JS. So that's how the defer works in the LCP method. It loads later and renders later. So, so this is the basic defer resource until and later. It means the defer doesn't work in Safari, Internet Explorer, and the Firefox, also the iOS. So usually it is not the case if we want to use defer. That's why the defer is not that popular because defer is like not recommended. It is not actually recommended, but it is by we can't use it in Safari, we can't use it in Firefox, so it is a little uh, not as recognized as sync. That's why. So the next we have the optimizing images. So optimizing images, it means the simple. We just need to optimize our images. How we can optimize? Just reducing its size. Let's suppose we have the 1200 pixel of size for desktop and 900 pixels. I'm assuming pixels here, so you can assume anything, but usually it is the pixels. So 1200 for the desktop, 900 for the tablet, and 600 for the mobile. So these are some parameters which we need to consider when we applying any responsive images. So we can achieve it by the SRC sets, by source set. So what we have done here, we said, okay, if the width is 600 pixel, just put this picture dot pictures, like picture 600, picture 900, and picture 1200. So I named it 600, 900, and 1200 so that we can correlate it very easily. So if the width is 600 width, just put this 600. If the width is 900, then put this, and for the 1200 do the same. Also, we can also apply these sizes attribute as well in the HTML tag. Okay, this is the first method, and this is the second method. And you can do, you can like do whatever you want. Also, you can achieve it by the external CSS also, but it is the way you can also achieve it by HTML, because our first file, which is HTML, is loaded. So that's why it is best practice to just uh, make it as soon as possible before CSS. Okay, so for optimizing images, we have one more thing, which is just reduce the size. So we have like a lot of tool on the internet which from which we can reduce our size. So on the left side, I have the original transparent images of panda, and on the right hand side, I have the shrunk image of the panda. So the size difference is really huge, which is 57 kb to 15 kb. So you can just reduce the size, and the picture quality is really the same. So what it does is just delete the some garbage code behind the picture, so that its size would be get decreases. So there is a website called TinyPNG. You can use it to decrease your size. It is a good which I usually use. So reduce overhead, it means it is taking three and four files immediately at the same time, from the FCP to LCP. It means like from the CSS, images, and JS. Three files are loading at the same time. So it is not recommended, because our website could be could be as slower as it possible, because sorry, it could be uh, like really slow, because if I am applying any of these three files at the same time, it could be useful, but it is not recommended, because it is consuming more and more resources, and it is making it slow. Okay, so for this, removing this overhead, we can, I'm just taking the example of image, what we can do. So the first, what it does, it just DNS. From the it sets up the DNS, then TCP, then SSL, then it put the request, and then get back to the response, and then it will process the image. Okay, so this, if we want to after that, if any image will come, then it will just skip the DNS, because we have already did the DNS things. Okay, but if you want to quit these three processes, then we have HTTP2. HTTP2 is a method which we can skip these TCL and SSL method from this, but it has some like pros and cons. So the pros for that, it is really fast, because the images which is loading in cache, uh, which is skipped by the many steps, and it can be retrieved faster, and the connection could be reused, which is a really good prawn. But the cons is it is required SSL certificate. So it is some prawns, and since it is required SSL certificate, sorry, SSL required, so we can't run it on our local server, because it is SSL required. That's why. So there is something for reducing overhead, which is called a caching. So for the caching, it is the best practice which usually website developers do. So what it does is to just cache the images or any files in the browser. So we don't need to load it again and again. They just cached it, and then they want to retrieve it. They just the images, the files, the text documents which we have already exist in the browser, and that we just need to retrieve it by just processing of the machine. So this is the little info how they do that. So this is the cached info, cache control. This is the size of, like, the timing, which is the 600. It's usually a minutes. So it expires if you want to give exact time what it when it should expire, so it has, you can give it as well. And in the expire time, it is also has the e tag which contain also the same thing. So it is really a good advantage of it. So also we have this, if you have any css imports files, let's suppose if usually what we do is to take fonts from the google. So if we want to make it load as fast as we can, because usually what we see is the website loading, when website loaded, then it fonts get changed automatically. So it is not a good practice. We just need to import first fonts, and then after that we can just apply, or we can just load our website. So for that we have just for that we have pre-connect. So if we want to import our google fonts, then we can just apply pre-connect, and it will just take the font install previous from the like it will install, sorry, not the install, it will load these google font from the before the html css and javascript files. So it will get preloaded, and when the html will load, sorry, when the html and css will load, then it has the already google fonts loaded, and it will get arranged by these fonts. If you have a google, like if you have a dedicated website for the font, then you can use pre-connect, or also if you have a any css file on your local, then you can just type preload. So now we'll be improving cumulative layout. So for the cumulative layout, if for the review like for the revision, we have the movement, distance, and impact of range element during the entire lifetime of the document the user sees. It means the user will see the uh, entire content of the web page in this in the particular time, because we don't want to move stuff, right? So before we have the lcp, I'm ready. And the next, so lcp, it means the largest contentful page, and from the cls we don't want to move stuff, right? So let's say if I want to click on the this button, and immediately this will get shifted, then it is not good for the user, as we said, because this is comes under the cumulative shift layout, which is not good. So now if I talk about the layout hints, which we does, if I go to New York Times, then you can see on the banner ad, it comes under the on the top of the website. Then it comes under the cumulative layout shift. So as the website loaded, this cumulative shift get decreases, or we can say that it gets shifted from the above. So it is not good, but it usually websites do if we are applying any ads in it. So by avoiding it, so how we can basically how we can improve it, like if this we want to apply cls because uh, we want to earn something from our website, and we want to advertise our we want to advertise something on our website, so we need to do something. So for that, what we can do is to just hint something, to get hint by the layout. So in your website, what we can do is to just give the proper image and the banner ad sized. So it means let's suppose my website let's suppose for an instance, in the New York Times is my website, let's suppose. So and I want to give advertisement on the top. So what I can do is just to give and margin and padding from above boxes. So just I'm making a separate box on my website on the New York Times, right? So I'm just defining this advertisement box in the starting. So we don't want it to get loaded after that. It has already mentioned on the document that okay, it will be the advertisement would be here, and when it will be ready, just put it on that. Okay, so that's how the community layout we can improve our cls, because now the content, our content will not get moved, because we have assigned that box particularly, so it will not get moved until the advertisement comes. So this box will be like would be below the advertisement when the advertisement will come out. Okay, so sets the aspect ratio for the browser. It means you need to be aware about the ratio of the browser, because if you are applying any layout hints, because so you need to be very precise about that. So but it is not exactly. It should not be exactly, but it could be considered. It should be considered as a browser ratio. Okay, so this was about the browser, sorry, banner advertising. So for the improving CLS, so it was a Lighthouse challenge. So I think we have running out of time, so we can't do it right now. So I'm just going to skip it. So after that we have first input delay. So first input delay is really simple. The browser time delay between the user's first click and the execution of application code. So it usually means don't load too much. So again, if I am moving the I have the moving checked deck chairs. LCP, it means I am ready, the user can interact. But as soon as the my whole JS is loading, it means I am ready. But as soon as I click on the button, it is not loading. Why? Because our LCP is loaded. I mean, our LCP is ready, but our website is loading, is already busy processing in JS. So if I'm clicking on the button, then it will not get respond, or it will get some delay. So we need to resolve it. And why and how we can resolve it? By just applying these JS files at the end, and just let just interact the user first. Okay, so we have till now we have just covered the psychology of waiting, but the last point is, as I have highlighted, people will wait for value, which is the key point. So will user wait for that? Well, it depends, because we want to give them a value, right? So did we improve performance? It means at the end, if I say, is this session would be is this session really have the meaning? Yes, it has, because now you know about the web vitals. So if you have any website, then you can just apply these web vitals in your website. And as I have this performance like report I have for you. So I have one of my user is using was using his website, and now when I applied these web vitals in their website, so you can see this is a drastic change in it. So if you see on the left hand side, the red and yellow, which is taking a too much time, which is zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.2 seconds. But after applying web vitals, it is taking less than zero point 0.1 seconds, which is a really great score for the performance. So that's how the web vitals work for you, and it will also increase the ranking of your Google. And also it is another project. It is also another business project. It means improving session time. By applying web vitals, the session time is increased. It means the user is more interacting with the website. The user is spending more time in their website, so user is loving it. So data beyond spreadsheet. So this is a real data set from from my one of the user, which has just experienced this web vitals. And you can just take a screenshot and look around what is it. And this is a really good thing for the websites, and these are the web vital reports which you can take and have a look how well website is performing. So this is a time breakdown. So you can take these screenshot, and you can see before applying web vitals and after applying web vitals, there is a huge difference in your website. And if you apply in it, then you will get a great response in your website as well. So this was all about it, and thank you so much. And at the last, I have a quote for you. technology is uh, not about Technology is not only about creating, but also maintaining it. But I don't know the author. Thank you.
Okay, so it was, I must say, it was amazing session and you covered all the topics. So as we are running out of time, so quickly let's see if we have any questions from the audience. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we have a one question from Pankaj Raghav. So he is asking, how do I turn off my FPS limit?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
How do I turn off my FPS limit?
F
F,
FPS. What?
yeah.
I think it's FCP, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So FCP, I have mentioned in the PPT as well. So
Okay.
what you can do is, so you can reduce your text files. Text file, I means it means you have let's say you have HTML, CS, and JavaScript files. usually it has a file below 800 kb, right? But usually what we do is to just put all our code in one particular file and just make it bigger. So it is not recommended, because if it is loaded of like more than 800 kbs, then it is like a really really big file and we can't do that. So it is one of the key method. Just like segregate it in like two or three files and just go with that.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Okay, so as I saw, we have covered. So we don't have any questions from the audience. So yeah, it's look like we have covered all the thing. And Harsh, anything you want to cover up before I wrap up?
I would just say, just you, if Web Vitals is really really good thing, and if you want to check
Yeah.
it out, then there's a website called web.dev. It is a Google, like Google created this website for the website developers. You surely check it out, and it is a really good thing.
Yes, please check it out, what Harsh just said. And thank you so much, Harsh. It has been a wonderful webinar with you. And again, thank you all for joining us today. And we will see you next time. Till then, stay safe and healthy.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.